Well, it's happening next week. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump will be meeting to discuss the fate and future of the war in Ukraine. This is probably the big geopolitical get-together so far in 2025. To help break us all down for us and explain what it could all mean, I'm joined by Janice Gross Stein, the founding director of the Munk School of Global Affairs. Janice, great to be in conversation with you.
Great always to be with you, Rudyard. And off the top, just to register my skepticism, I'm not 100% sure this meeting is going to go ahead.
Wow.
This was an announcement from Donald Trump's office. No confirmation as we do this yet from Vladimir Putin.
Yeah. Let's hypothesize, though, that this meeting is going to happen, because there's lots of reasons why Vladimir Putin might want to meet with Donald Trump. He clearly has been holding out on a series of demands. Maybe, Janice, they're not as much about territory as they are about bigger security issues that Russia has vis-a-vis NATO and the future of Ukraine. Is this, in Vladimir Putin's view, an anti-Russian redoubt up against his border, or is this a country that he wants to not only economically humble, but politically dominate? If you're trying to chart out what a deal could look like, what would it be? What would Russia want? Let's start there.
Well, we know quite a bit, Rudyard, about what Russia would want. And where do we know from? We know from that original famous July 2021 letter and the negotiations that followed with the United States before he invaded. And there's this annual meeting that Vladimir Putin has every year, and he has gone into great detail. It's open mic with journalists staged. Let's just understand what this is. But what's at the core here? A series of commitments from Ukraine. Most important, that it will not join NATO and not join the European Union. Secondly, that it will largely disarm. Thirdly, that there will be guarantees for the Russian-speaking population in Ukraine, which is in that part of Ukraine, by the way, which Russia has occupied. So it's not clear now in today's Ukraine where Russian speakers are concentrated anymore. But the first two, no European Union, no NATO, I think, is in one category, no European Union is another, and disarmament, effectively disestablishing the Ukrainian army. That's, I think, a road that even were Donald Trump to agree to it, Ukraine would never agree.
Yeah. So let's now focus on Volodymyr Zelenskyy, because that is quite the butcher's bill that you've outlined there. I assume, Janice, that would also include the continued illegal occupation of Crimea. And whether it's all of the Donbass, all of the four provinces or not, it would still be a significant portion of eastern Ukraine, a very fertile and rich region that also has important mineral and mining and other deposits. So what does Volodymyr Zelenskyy try to do? What could come out of these negotiations, if anything, that would be in Ukraine's interests?
Rudyard, you already saw with Volodymyr Zelenskyy today that when he accepted the invitation to join, he added a word in front of an end. When he said he wanted an end to the Russia-Ukraine war, he said, we want a good end. It's very clear. It's all of the Donbass. Putin has said this over and over. Would he compromise? Maybe. That's where there might be some ground for negotiation, but not a lot, frankly. Boy, that would be a bitter pill for Zelenskyy to swallow. And the reason is this includes territory that Russia has not yet conquered.
Right.
So again, I think this is a very, very high hill to climb for Zelenskyy. Now, interestingly enough, Rudyard, Trump said in that announcement he is meeting first alone with Vladimir
Right.
Putin, and then Zelenskyy will be invited to join. He told West European leaders this, who grudgingly accepted that they will not be part of the process. But I think the risks for Zelenskyy are really high here. That the two big guys might do some kind of a deal, and he might walk into that room and face a fait accompli, frankly. That's a nightmare for him.
That does not sound good, that staging or ordering, if this meeting indeed goes ahead. So what if that scenario is what unfolds, that Volodymyr Zelenskyy walks into that second meeting and is told by Trump, basically, these are Russia's demands. We've agreed to the majority of them. Let's say freezing the conflict at the existing lines of battle, not giving Russia all 4 provinces in total, no membership in NATO, no membership in the European community, demilitarization, and I assume elections would be another demand that the Russians would have. What does Volodymyr Zelenskyy do in that moment? I guess it all comes down to Europe, to the rest of NATO, France, Germany, the UK. Can Volodymyr Zelenskyy count on their backing if he needs to say no? Because that would mean that those NATO countries, those European powers, would in a sense then be committing themselves to the defense of Ukraine in a continuing war where the United States and Donald Trump most likely would have walked away.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the scenario, Roger. And I can bet right now the phone lines are buzzing between Kyiv, London, Paris, Brussels. They are gaming out the alternatives. Because the scenario that you just presented is a real possibility, that he walks into a room and is told, we've already made the deal, you join, brother, or you don't get any further military assistance from the United States. I think the Europeans will step up. They've made that clear repeatedly. Macron, Friedrich Merz, the German chancellor, and Keir Starmer, they see this as a test for the survival of Europe in this new area of geopolitics in which they cannot count on the United States at all. So they will certainly step up, Roger. Will it be enough? That's an entirely different question. I also think that even if they don't step up, in the way that Volodymyr Zelenskyy hopes, if they step up partially, he will nevertheless say no to that kind of deal, because I think he and the people surrounding him, and leave the domestic politics of Ukraine aside for a moment, although you can never really do that, but let's do it for a moment. I think they would see this as the end of Ukraine.
Yeah.
The disarming of the army would leave them so vulnerable in the future. And why would you believe, actually, that Vladimir Putin would stop here? He didn't stop there when he originally invaded. He wanted a change of government in Ukraine. Why would he respect the electoral process that would happen in Ukraine? It strains credulity to believe. I think he will say no. And, I've had the opportunity to meet Ukrainian officials, senior officials, when I've gone to international conferences. And what have I heard over and over? They've thought about this scenario already, and to a person, and you can argue this is what I should expect. They would tell me that they wouldn't say any different, but there's so much conviction when they say it, we will fight on.
Right.
Even if we have to do it alone. That's what you hear. And they have, and this is so interesting, Rudyard, it's an interesting story for Canadians. They have built up their defense industrial base. Mm-hmm. They are manufacturing drones faster than anybody else in the world right now, except Russia. They have a capacity to resist, which is remarkable given where they started from.
Final question, because we're gaming this out, and obviously anything can slip between cup and lip. But if there is a scenario, and I don't know, I worry, the way Trump has related to Putin in the past, and the extent to which he, that dressing down, that horrible dressing down of Zelenskyy in the Oval Office, you have no cards, you have nothing to play. If Trump behaves as we think, and then Europe is in a sense, called on deck to extend a security guarantee of sorts, what if the United States effectively removes their security guarantee then from Europe in terms of the threat that Russia could represent to these European powers, who then would be, by proxy, the backers of a war against Russia, a war of Ukraine against Russia, backed by, wholly, exclusively by Europe? Surely that would make the Europeans pretty nervous, and possibly Vladimir Putin emboldened.
Look, it's a very worrying scenario, Rudyard, and I think you're right to worry because Donald Trump has wanted this meeting with Vladimir Putin since he was reelected, and Putin has held out. That means that Donald Trump is very invested in the success of this meeting. Summits have a dynamic of their own, and every incentive is in place right now for Donald Trump to agree to almost anything, because he does not, if this meeting happens, he does not want to walk out of there saying this meeting has failed, because those are very unappealing choices. So I think you're very right to be concerned about this outcome. And as we do record this session, Rudyard, we're seeing, in many ways, a stunning reversal by Donald Trump in his relationship with India.
Yes.
Where literally within a few short days, he's turned on a strategic partnership which the United States has invested in building. He has been very complimentary about Modi in the past. There's a volatility here.
Yes.
I think all of us should be prepared for anything to come out of this meeting if it goes forward, not least Vladimir Zelenskyy and the Europeans.
Yeah. Wise words. Janice Gross Stein, thank you for coming on Hub Hits today.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in on our podcast channel. You're one of the over 250,000 downloads, your download today, that made up our listening audience in the last 30 days. So thank you for being part of our online audio community. And if you're over on our YouTube channel, please click on that subscribe button, join the over 65,000 people who are YouTube subscribers to the Hub. And if you click on the notification bell at the same time, you'll get our next video sent to you as soon as it's published. Thanks for watching and listening to this edition of Hub Hits. I'm Rudyard Griffiths. We'll talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.